Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel T-Spot. In this video, episode 6 is insane. We can say that From finally rose from its ashes after all these filler episodes. We've been waiting for this day to come, and here we are. No more filler episodes or nonsense dialogues. Without further ado, let's start discussing what has happened in the latest episode, shall we? The episode starts with Boyd and Tian Chen. We see that she is angry because Boyd kept Sarah as a secret and defended her. And we all know that she caused Tian Chen's husband's death. She has every right to be angry, but she's such a mom. She has a kind and compassionate soul. And even though she is angry, she seems to understand the reason behind Boyd's actions. Then Kenny enters the diner and he is angrier than his mom. We don't think he'll truly forgive Sarah or Boyd anytime soon. We all know Boyd means well, but on the other hand, Kenny lost his father and his heart is in pieces, so we can't blame him. Besides, even after all these things, he still cares about Boyd. After talking to Tian Chen, we see that Boyd goes to church and he sees the ballerina music box. You remember this, right? He previously saw it while trying to save Martin. But this time things are a little different because he sees an actual ballerina. Well, at least we thought so. She was dancing and for a moment, everything was fine. Until that moment when we saw lots of worms coming out of her mouth. To be honest, that was purely creepy and we loved it. Then we realized that this whole thing didn't actually happen. And in fact, Boyd never left the diner. It was probably a vision or something. We see Boyd lying on the floor, and that's exactly when we understand that Kenny still cares for Boyd because he's worried for him. And he decides to take him to Christy for examination. While they were on their way, Boyd tries to tell Kenny about what happened to him in the forest. But instead of believing Boyd, Kenny is worried about his sanity. Anyways, Boyd also says that the leaves are changing colors falling off the trees, and he has never seen that before. Previously, Victor mentioned that the trees were moving, so that might be related to it. Is something huge getting closer? We'll figure it out soon. But let's go back to Boyd. He was definitely the star of this episode. At the clinic, Boyd tries to convince Christy that there are worms under his skin. But most importantly, he reveals the worms' mystery. He says that they are getting stronger, and he thinks that the worms were feeding on Martin, and that's the reason why he couldn't die. He needed to pass it on to Boyd so that he could finally rest in peace. The funny thing is, neither Christy nor Kenny believes Boyd. They think he's confused because he's been through a lot lately. We find their disbelief funny because they are all stuck in a town. There are monsters that want to hunt them at nights, and they use talismans for protection. But when it comes to worms under skin, no, it's unbelievable. We'll get back to them again, but let's take a look at the colony house for a second. In this episode, we learn that the storm swept half of their food, and now they're facing a food shortage, since the town's population has increased. Now it's really difficult for them to feed properly. But that's not what we are going to talk about today, because the shortage causes a fight in the colony house. While trying to intervene, Ellis gets stabbed by Dale. What do you think Ellis does next? He pulls the knife right out. You're very clever, sir. Considering all the dangers around you, you should be thankful that you survived till this day. Anyways, with Fatima's determination and Elgin's courage, Ellis makes it to the clinic. At some point, he loses so much blood that he needs a transfusion. Since Boyd's blood type is the same as Ellis's, Christy asks Boyd to donate his blood. But he's hesitant because he knows that he got the worms via Martin's blood. Since Boyd is unwilling to give his blood, Kenny decides to force Boyd. But thankfully, the worms suddenly appear in Boyd's arm. Mariel realizes the worms and shows them to everyone. At this point, our soft-hearted Kenny offers Boyd to transfer the worms to him so that he can donate his blood to his son and save his life. But Boyd doesn't accept this offer. Of course, we believe he sees Kenny as his son too. Struggling to decide, Boyd loses it and decides to go out and transfer the worms to a monster. That's the action and courage we've been begging to see. He goes out and calls for monsters, and the show's most famous monster appears after him. We see the rest of the monsters coming closer. The interesting part is the monsters don't attack him right away. That might be because of the worm's existence. We are not sure yet. Anyways, Boyd manages to slit the monster's throat. But guess what? The monsters don't bleed. Just as we get anxious, Boyd makes a move and gives his crazy idea a shot. He grabs the monster's neck with his bleeding hand. At first, nothing happens, but then we see that the monster screams in pain and collapses. After all this time, they finally managed to kill a monster. We didn't even know if the monsters could be killed or not. So what's next? Will they finally try to kill them all? Will they examine the monster's body? We are impatiently waiting for the upcoming episode, and we are almost sure that it will be as good as this one. What do you think will happen in the upcoming episode? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you for watching. See you soon.